House District 60. It's a Saturday morning about 9:30. We officially died June 27th, Friday at about 11:15 last night. I apologize for not having a newsletter and some videos the last couple weeks, but it's been a wild ride. Um, let's just start with what happened yesterday. Yesterday, when we came into the building, there was a clear expectation that House Bill 2025, the transportation package, was going to make it through the building. That package would have imposed over $11 billion worth of new taxes on Oregonians in the next 10 years. It was supposed to be the second of a set of compromises as the bill had worked its way through this process, or lack of process, in the last 3 weeks. It was, hailed as the compromise. The sad part about it, it wasn't a compromise. We don't understand why we have to raise $11 billion in taxes to have equitable, well-maintained roads throughout all of Oregon. In fact, when you look at ODOT's budget, it's probably $345, $400 million short now in order to maintain the employees that they have. But we passed budgets just this week, like OHA, that were over $40 billion. Probably an extra $300 million that wasn't spent this session. Not saying that's bad, but there was money to put to ODOT. $100 million in the e-board. So there was a way to fully fund and maintain the services at ODOT. We would have had to have a longer conversation on how do we continue to put in more infrastructure. How do we put the infrastructure that was promised in House Bill 2017 for the 2017 transportation package. But I, for one, do not feel that it needs to come with $11 billion tax. So came into the building with some anticipation that that was going to make it through. It seemed that they had the votes in the House to make it through, but they didn't have the votes in the Senate. Shortly into the day, we saw that they were moving a different bill, House Bill 3402, into the Rules Committee on the House side, which was probably their, plan D on the transportation package. It was posted about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. We started reading that package. It had reduced the gas tax to 3 cents a gallon, still increasing registration fees, still a lot of funding mechanisms in there, around 2 to 3 billion. But it also left out the 50-30-20 split. That the counties and cities normally receive 30% of all funding generated by gas tax, and the cities 20, and the state 50. This was all going to go to the state, so they were fundamentally changing the distribution of those funds. That was one of many issues we saw with 3402. The presiding officers and were starting to try to figure out how they could get that bill across in a 2.5-day period of time from constitutional sine die, which was actually tomorrow. Trying to figure out the procedure, trying to figure out votes, trying to figure out who could get there, who could not. It became evident probably around 7 or 8 o'clock last night that they did not have the votes, maybe a few hours before. The public hearing was pretty tough on the bill, rightfully so. A lot of people came out and testified against it, from your far left environmental friends that wanted more, to your far right that wanted less. It was just, they did not hit a sweet spot. But once again became evident that they did not have the votes, even on the Democratic side, with a supermajority to pass 3402. A lot of turmoil, I guess, in the building, but eventually we died without a transportation package going through. What you're going to hear is that now ODOT has to lay off 700, 800 employees. We're not going to have the employees for maintenance. We're not going to have the ability to paint white stripes, plow roads, have the safety there. There's a way to do it. We all need to take a couple weeks off, figure it out, and come back. Budgets resemble priorities, and the priorities in this building right now were not the maintenance of safe roads for all Oregonians. Maybe we'll figure out how to get there in the next couple weeks before the layoffs occur. I hope we will. Let's back up now a little bit to last Saturday, Sunday, last Friday, I guess. The transportation package was in committee. It was being worked to come out of committee. There were some feelings, I would say, in committee that bubbled up. And then the gun bills were going to be up on the House floor Monday. So I think at one time there was 5 or maybe 7 gun bills that started this session. And you've heard me say that there's always going to be a gun bill in a long session. Some of our friends, our colleagues on the other side, continue to believe that if we make more laws, criminals will abide by them and there'll be less gun violence. I do believe violence is an issue in our communities, and we need to figure out how to solve it. I do not believe initiating new gun laws and restrictions is the answer. There was a conversation within our own caucus. Do we provide quorum for the gun bills? The only way you would ever actually delay the implementation of a gun bill is deny quorum for the rest of the session. If you deny quorum for the rest of the session, you're not doing the one thing that I pledged to do when I became a legislator and I'm sworn in. The only requirement I really have for this job is to pass a balanced budget for the state. So they were already on the second and third reading list. So if you deny quorum, they're going to be back up the very next day. The only way you procedurally kill them is not to show up the rest of the session, not to pass a balanced budget. If we did not pass a balanced budget in this building, they would have to call a special session and bring us back in. When that special session is called, the gun bills would be back. What do? You hold out, come back a week later, special session with the gun bills. How do you ever get to passing that budget? So a few of us had some conversations and we were able to figure out that if we provided quorum, one of the gun bills, 3076, that was on the House side, we could kill it. Speaker made an agreement. You show up for Senate Bill 243, we'll kill House Bill 3076. So we had a commitment to kill every gun bill that originated in the House side, which is a good thing. The only gun bill left was Senate Bill 243. And once it left this chamber, had to go back to the Senate chamber for concurrence. So us showing and providing quorum for that bill did not guarantee its passage. We worked through there, killed the House gun bill, spoke against the Senate bill, hopeful that it would die. It passed by 1 or 2 extra votes, ended up on the Senate side. Then the Senate had to figure out procedurally how they could kill it. Unfortunately, they did not figure that out. And I think it was yesterday that the gun bill, Senate Bill 243, made it across the Senate. That's the conversation. I've been getting a lot of emails saying I didn't do my job, I was a sellout against Second Amendment rights. 100% no. I'm for Second Amendment rights. Senate Bill 243, there was 3 sections of it. The first section talked about bump stocks and rapid fire guns. I have to give that some thought. I'm not sure there's a real reason to have a gun a rifle that can shoot 600 rounds. If that was just the conversation there, I don't know where I would have lined up, but it would have been a different conversation. Section 2 of that bill, which I felt was once again penalizing our concealed handgun license permittees by allowing districts to have a patchwork of laws that does not allow concealed handgun license to carry in some public buildings. Our concealed handgun license permittees are the safest in Oregon, the safest gun owners there is. In fact, they protect far more people than they ever abuse them with. So having those restrictions on our CHL license, I don't support. Section 3, they're actually delayed the implementation of ballot measure 114 until it gets to the Supreme Court. That's a good thing. Hopefully the Supreme Court will upheld Judge Raschio's decision from Harney County and find that ballot measure 114 and parts of it are unconstitutional. We actually delayed the implementation of that till 2027 for the Supreme Court hopefully to do the right ruling. That was the gist of Senate Bill 243. But like I said, we provided quorum because I think it was my constitutional duty. We were able to kill a gun bill. We were able to send the other gun bill to the Senate and hopefully it would have died there. But also when we were there that day, we passed the wildfire funding bill. which has landowner offset funding, to once again our ODF fire districts to lower the rate to get back to where it's not their number one tax item on their bill, which is good for Eastern Oregon. We also pulled the bill and supported the repeal of the fire maps because we were there. We got wildfire funding. We got landowner offset on the forest lands, on the rangelands, which will save our communities 25 million. We were able to pull the wildfire map bill and repeal the wildfire maps because we showed up. We hadn't showed up, honestly believe that would not have happened. But we would have had to come back for a special session without the wildfire relief, without repealing the wildfire maps, and take votes on the gun bills to pass the budget. Probably spoke too much on that, but now you have a little bit of idea what was going through my mind in the last week. We had some successes, quite a few successes in the 163 days or so that we were in session down here for like 180 days. We did pass the Rangeland Fire Protection Association Bill 3349. So now ODF can provide surplus equipment to our Rangeland Fire Protection Associations. Also got $1 million fund there, which more than doubled their budget for our RFPAs. Like I said before, RFPs are first line of defense. Without them, there would have been a lot more acres burned up. They are volunteers. They do a great job of protecting us, protecting our communities. They will move forward. Also, the governor signed House Bill 3372, which allows you, if you have a exempt well or domestic well, to irrigate up to a half-acre commercial with 3,000 gallons a day, so you can grow some vegetables for a farmer's market. Good bill. We got House Bill 3127 passed. That's where doctors now have to use the electronic form to fill out death certificates so that families in need can get them back in a couple of days instead of 5 to 6 weeks. That was an interesting path. Also, the Senate wanted to delay implementation on it for 2 years. Came back to the House. I worked with Representative Nose. You have to concur when the other chamber makes a change. I asked Representative Nose, let's not concur. But when you don't concur, then it goes to a conference committee. And then we got into a conference committee. I was able to chair the conference committee, probably the first time a Republican chaired a conference committee in a decade or more. And we had the votes to not delay implementation. So we'll go in effect first of this year, I believe. So we saved Oregonians 2 years off of that. I want to thank Senator Nash and Rep. Bobby Levy and all those that worked on Senate Bill 777, both compensation with a multiplier. Talked about that before, but that was definitely a success. We also got House Bill 2332, which is a little bit technical, but right now when you're trying to, make biochar or take care of some of the biomass on forest with an air curtain incinerator, you have to have a DEQ Title V permit, which is tough to get, expensive to get. No reason to be needed for that. We're able to make sure that those air curtains don't have to get a Title V permit. They can just get a normal air quality permit. That was a success. Wildfire funding, I said a success. Repealing the wildfire maps, a success. We had 3 or 4 bills for process improvements on the water rate process to streamline things, take care of backlogs, make sure that Oregonians could be better served. We got those across the board. We had some success in funding $1 million for the well abandonment repair program. So if your well has been failed, there's still ability for the state to help you deepen that well. We got $2 million for OHDS for emergency assistance for Harney, Douglas, Coos, Curry County, those that were affected by the floods. We had several water and sewer projects funded. We did okay too in projects. We're still tracking down everything that we did. It's all right. Another one that I think Water Unity or something has been beating me up on was voting for some water right department fees. So House Bill 2003, when it first came to our committee, would have increased fees for water right permit and processing by 135%. Outrageous. We negotiated with our colleagues. We negotiated the Legislative Fiscal Office, spent a lot of time with the Water Resource Department. We actually got a general fund allocation of, I think, 1.3 million or 1.7 million to lower those fees to only, I know, tough, a 50% increase. but far better than 135% increase. Ultimately, I didn't support the 50% increase, but because we worked the compromise to lower it down from 135, I did vote for it. Once again, we got to figure out the cost to provide services by our agencies goes up exponentially faster than what those that need those services, their income goes up. It's something that's going to come to a head here. The real answer is, only 2.6% of the general fund budget goes to the natural resource agencies. 2.6. If we can increase that to 5%, we wouldn't have to have all these fees. We could work through this. There's a way to permanently fund wolf compensation through transient lodging tax. It failed, unfortunately, on the Senate side because a minority report from some of our Senate Republicans came on. Senator Nash and Rep. Levy and I and others, Representative Ken Helm, worked real hard on that. Procedurally, they were able to kill it. It was a very much bipartisan, bicameral bill. Senator Nash and I were both chief sponsors on it, along with some Democrats. Disappointing that politics played out, and we were not able to permanently fund the wolf compensation program and some other things, but we'll be back. We'll be back on that one in the short session. I could ramble on more and more, but I'm going to go home. I'm going to figure out how to be a husband, a father, and a farmer again for a while. So probably be offline for a couple weeks. It's been a pleasure to serve you guys down here in Salem, but it's time to check out for a while. Talk to you in a few weeks. Be safe, Mark.